Lucas chapter 1. Dear Theophilus, concerning the matters that have taken place among us, many people have undertaken to draw up accounts based on what was handed down to us by those who from the start were eyewitnesses and proclaimers of the message. Therefore, Your Excellency, since I have carefully investigated all these things from the beginning, it seemed good to me that I too should write you an accurate and ordered narrative, so that you might know how well-founded are the things about which you've been taught. In the days of Herod, king of Yehudah, there was a Kohen named Zechariah who belonged to the Aviyah division. His wife was a descendant of Aharon, and her name was Elisheva. Both of them were righteous before God, observing all the mitzvot and ordinances of Yehovah blamelessly. But they had no children, because Elisheva was barren, and they were both well along in years. One time, when Zechariah was fulfilling his duties as Cohen during his division's period of service before God, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom among the Kohanim, to enter the temple and burn incense. All the people were outside praying at the time of the incense burning, when there appeared to him an angel of Yehovah standing to the right of the incense altar. Zechariah was startled and terrified at the sight, but the angel said to him, "Don't be afraid, Zechariah, because your prayer has been heard. Your wife, Elisheva, will bear you a son, and you are to name him Yochanan. He will be a joy and a delight to you, and many people will rejoice when he is born, for he will be great in the sight of Yehovah. He is never to drink wine or other liquor, and he will be filled with Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. He will turn many of the people of Israel to Yehovah their God. He will go out ahead of Yehovah in the spirit and power of Eliyahu, to turn the hearts of fathers to their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready for Yehovah a people prepared." Zechariah said to the angel, "How can I be sure of this? For I am an old man. My wife, too, is well on in years." "I am Gabriel," the angel answered him, "and I stand in the presence of God. I was sent to speak to you, to give you this good news. Now, because you didn't believe what I said, which will be fulfilled when the time comes, you will be silent, unable to speak until the day these things take place." Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah. They were surprised at his taking so long in the temple. But when he came out, unable to talk to them, they realized that he had seen a vision in the temple. Speechless, he communicated to them with signs. When his period of his temple service was over, he returned home. Following this, Elisheva, his wife, conceived, and she remained 5 months in seclusion, saying, "Yehovah has done this for me. He has shown me favor at this time, so as to remove my public disgrace." In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city in the Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph of the house of David. The virgin's name was Miriam. Approaching her, the angel said, "Shalom, favored lady, Yehovah is with you." She was deeply troubled by his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Miriam, for you have found favor with God. Look, you will become pregnant. You will give birth to a son, and you are to name him Yeshua. He will be great. He will be called Son of Ha-Elyon. Yehovah, God, will give him the throne of his forefather David, and he will rule the house of Yaakov forever. There will be no end to his kingdom." "How can this be?" asked Miriam of the angel, "since I am a virgin?" The angel answered her, "The Ruach HaKodesh will come over you. The power of Ha-Elyon will cover you. Therefore the holy child born to you will be called the Son of God. You have a relative, Elisheva, who is an old woman, and everyone says she is barren. But she has conceived a son and is 6 months pregnant. For with God nothing is impossible." Miriam said, "I am the servant of Yehovah. May it happen to me as you have said." Then the angel left her. Without delay, Miriam set out and hurried to the town in the hill country of Yehudah, where Zechariah lived, entered his house, and greeted Elisheva. When Elisheva heard Miriam's greeting, the baby in her womb stirred. Elisheva was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and spoke up in a loud voice, "How blessed are you among women, and how blessed is the child in your womb. But who am I, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For as soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. Indeed, you are blessed, because you have trusted that the promise Yehovah has made to you will be fulfilled." Then Miriam said, "My soul magnifies Yehovah, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, who has taken notice of his servant girl in her humble position. For imagine it, from now on all generations will call me blessed. The Mighty One has done great things for me. Indeed, his name is holy, and in every generation he has mercy on those who fear him. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm, routed the secretly proud, brought down rulers from their thrones, raised up the humble, filled the hungry with good things, but sent the rich away empty. He has taken the part of his servant Israel, mindful of the mercy which he promised to our fathers, to Abraham and his seed forever." Miriam stayed with Elisheva for about 3 months and then returned home. The time arrived for Elisheva to have her baby, and she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard how good Yehovah had been to her, and they rejoiced with her. On the 8th day, they came to do the child's Brit Milah. They were about to name him Zechariah after his father, when his mother spoke up and said, "No, he is to be called Yochanan." They said to her, "None of your relatives has that name," and they made signs to his father to find out what he wanted him called. He motioned for a writing tablet, and to everyone's surprise, he wrote, "His name is Yochanan." At that moment, his power of speech returned, and his first words were a barakah to God. All their neighbors were awestruck, and throughout the hill country of Yehudah, people talked about all these things. Everyone who heard of them said to himself, "What is this child going to be?" For clearly the hand of Yehovah was with him. His father Zechariah was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and spoke this prophecy. "Praised be Yehovah, the God of Israel, because he has visited and made a ransom to liberate his people by raising up for us a mighty deliverer who is a descendant of his servant David. It is just as he has spoken through the mouth of the prophets from the very beginning, that we should be delivered from our enemies and from the power of all who hate us. This has happened so that he might show the mercy promised to our fathers, that he would remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore before Abraham Avinu, to grant us that we, freed from our enemies, would serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness, before him all our days. You, child, will be called a prophet of Ha-Elyon. You will go before the Lord to prepare his way by spreading the knowledge among his people that deliverance comes by having sins forgiven through our God's most tender mercy, which causes the sunrise to visit us from heaven, to shine on those in darkness, living in the shadow of death, and to guide our feet into the paths of peace." The child grew and became strong in spirit, and he lived in the wilderness until the time came for him to appear in public to Israel.